At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Lowe's has the Labor Day deals you need to give your home a new look. Buy one, get one free select interior paint via Visa gift card rebate. Then, add the final touch with 2 for $8 on select 2.5 or 3-quart mums. Refresh your home and save big while doing it. Lowe's. We help. You save. Valid through 9/3. Mums offer in-store only. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowes.com/rebates for details.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome to this episode of No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast. Of course, it has been a fairly quiet time as far as British Speedway is concerned the last few days or so. What with the weather getting involved over the course of the weekend and just waiting now really for the Road Motor All Premiership playoffs to really kick in, which is coming up very soon. We have got a few matches remaining though, not least the one that we had on Monday as the Kingsland Stars ended their Road Motor All Premiership campaign on a high and with a win, an aggregate point as well over the Sheffield Tigers in a meeting which culminated in a superheat to decide that extra point. The Tigers fought back from 12 points down to level the scores on aggregate with a 4-2 in Heat 15 as Josh Pickering split home duo Jan Kvek and Ben Cook with Jack Holder up front, and that made the outcome 47-43 to the Stars, matching the result from Oleton earlier in the season, all down to a superheat then, and Jack Holder won again in that, but this time Cook and Kvek combining to keep Josh Pickering at the back, giving the extra point to the home side. Cook kept up his strong form at reserve with 12 points from 6 rides across the regular 15 heats, whilst Holder scored 14 plus 1 from 6 for the Tigers, who can still finish top of the table with home and away wins over Ipswich later this week. Well, let's get some reaction then from Nikolai Clint, captain of the Kingsland Stars.
Way to end the season, a win over Sheffield, who were up to last year a bit of a bogey side, but yeah, you put one over them tonight.
Yeah, I would say so. It's not only Sheffield, but particularly tonight, I don't think you could have scripted any better. Beating Sheffield at home in a superheat last meeting of the season. It's a great night to finish the season off with, and I think we proved towards the end of the season that we are a strong team. Even with me and Richard not really scoring to what we normally would tonight. We beat Sheffield, got the bonus point the same last week against Bellevue.
Must be pretty galling, you know, captain of the side. We all hoped it was going to be some success and then injuries hit it. But overall, it's not been a bad season for Kingsland, has it?
No, I wouldn't say so. Obviously, we started off a little bit hit and miss due to mechanical failures, a few injuries and stuff. But I think even through the season without Ben, we still turned up and gave it our all. We never gave up and had some good results, not just at home but also away. But overall, good season. It's just flattering that it's finishing now.
I mean, for you personally, you had a really good midsummer where you were going well. Perhaps not so good in the last couple of weeks, but I remember this time last year you were struggling to get over an injury, so it must be nice to finish the season in one piece, as they say, and look forward to next year.
Yeah, it is, and I don't think that I've rode past the middle of August over the last 2 years, as you say. So even though August haven't been my month in all 3 leagues that I ride in, it's definitely been a month to remember compared to the other ones. But I would say the highlight of my season was probably, I would say, May and July was really good, but it's been a different season for me. I've been much more busy than I've been in previous years, and yeah, it's been good. It's been really good to have more bike time, but we're we'll see what happens next year.
Well, let's hope you're back next year, but you've got something. You are going to be back at least for one meeting next year. No matter what happens, you got your testimony in here Sunday, March the 15th, here at the Adrian Flux Arena.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I wanted to have it this year, but Neil's got one over me. But through this month of September, I'm sitting down with people helping me and trying to plan things out. I want it to be bigger and better than other testimonials. So I want
to get one over at Neil's Christian Evenings. That's what it is.
Definitely, that's the aim. But now, like I want to make it a fun day out. I want to make it a whole day of entertainment and a day where you don't just go and watch 16, 20 heats and then you go home. A fan day, where they get something out of it instead of just watching 4 people ride around the track. So I got lots of ideas up my sleeve, and instead of just being a 2-hour event, I'm thinking more of a 4 or 5 hour event. So hopefully that will pay off.
And what does it mean to a rider that's given so much to British Speedway, as Jankovic brings you a nice pint of the black stuff? But what do you mean to a rider that has given so much to Speedway, granted a testimonial?
No, it's an honour, isn't it? I think there's only 2 years, I hadn't done a season in British Speedway, and that was due to COVID in 20 and 21. It's crazy to think that I've rode over here since 2008, isn't it? A lot of years. But when you look at the bigger picture, the last 4 years I've been at Kings Lynn, and it's probably been 4 of the better years that I've had in British Speedway. Really enjoyed it here, and I really appreciate Buster allowing me to have my testimonial here next year. So yeah, it's going to be a very memorable day for me, but also fun to dig in some of the memorabilia and things, to put in my program, which I'm sure is going to be special.
Yeah, so there's Nikolai Klint, and if you missed that, March the 15th next year, Nikolai Klint's testimonial. And he's planning on taking a while over it. It's going to be a few hours long. You're getting full value there, so stick that in your diary if you want to plan ahead to next season. There's certainly one fixture that will be on the board. Now, the Bellevue Aces will kick off the Road Motor All Premiership playoffs with a home leg of their semi-final on Monday, September the 8th. Yes, that's next Monday, 7:30pm, the start time. Defending champions have finished 4th in the league table and will take on the leaders in the last 4 tie. That is yet to be decided, as we heard earlier. It will be decided this week, though, with Ipswich and Sheffield contesting that. Obviously, Ipswich are there at the moment, but Sheffield can overhaul them mathematically yet. The Tigers visiting Kings Lynn on Monday just gone, and now these 2 fixtures remaining in their programme against Ipswich away and at home. Leicester will finish 2nd or 3rd in the table, depending on the results this next week. Their semi-final will be against, therefore, either Sheffield or Ipswich, and that will take place on Monday, September the 15th and Thursday, September 18th, with the order of the meetings yet to be confirmed, but as I say, that will be decided sooner than later. So a look at the Road Motor All Premiership table then, because we're pretty much there now. Ipswich have still got those 2 meetings left, and they're on 43 points at the top of the table. The Leicester Lions, they've ridden their 23 meetings. They've got the 1 left and 39 points. The Sheffield Tigers, they've got those 2 meetings to come against Ipswich, and they currently on the 38 points. And looking further down the table, Bellevue, Kings Lynn in 5th, Oxford 6th, and Birmingham, of course, they are done now, which is sad to see them go, but they finish on 6 points. So looking at the way things stack up in the Road Motor Oil Premiership, just to put it in a bit of a nutshell, because of course we are just waiting really now for the final shake-up and the playoffs to begin, but top spot will be confirmed either Wednesday or Thursday this week between Sheffield and Ipswich, depending on what happens with them, but it will be sorted by the end of Thursday. Fellow playoff qualifiers Leicester complete their campaign at Oxford on Thursday. The first place playoff semi-final gets underway on Monday at Bellevue, with the Aces facing either Ipswich or Sheffield. That is the shake-up in the Row Motor Oil Premiership. There's not a great deal more I can tell you at this moment in time, but next week, of course, the playoffs will be firmly underway, and we'll have the reaction from that opening fixture at the National Speedway Stadium as the Bellevue Aces kick off the Row Motor Oil Premiership playoffs. But also getting underway next week, it is the playoffs in the Cab Direct Championship, and we have our first fixture decided there, and it will be at Wimborne Road. The Poole Pirates taking on the Redcar Bears. That's the second and third place playoff. They know that they're going to finish in those positions. They've already organised their situation. Top spot is confirmed as well. The Glasgow Tigers will be finishing top of the Cab Direct Championship. They'll face fourth place. That will either be Edinburgh, who are there at the moment, but the Workington Comets, if they go through the rest of their remaining fixtures unbeaten and take the aggregate bonus points as well, they can overhaul the Edinburgh Monarchs. So Edinburgh, pretty much there, but not quite. It's not secure fully just yet, so we're waiting on confirmation of that. Ironically, Redcar can have a say in that on Friday, and we'll be speaking to the Redcar team boss. GAVIN Parr is next on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome to No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast. And that phrase, the business end of the season, is one that you hear quite a lot, but we really are there now. And in the Cab Direct Championship, the playoffs get underway next week, as they do in the Row Motor Oil Premiership as well. But we fully know two of the opponents that will be going head-to-head in that first fixture in the Cab Direct Championship, and it is the Poole Pirates and the Redcar Bears. And joining me now is team manager of the Redcar Bears, GAVIN Parr. Welcome, Gav. Congratulations on making, well, not just the playoffs, but you're still alive, the Redcar Bears, in all three competitions in the championship. And I think, as it goes, really, certainly in recent memory, this has to go down as the best season so far.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I believe so. Obviously, we won the pairs early doors, didn't we? Everybody sort of forgot about back in April when that was taken. So, yeah, we've made third place. I think so. Our highest league finish for a few years at least. Obviously, as I say, yeah, we're still in the BSN semi-final. We're still in the Knockout Cup semi-final. So, yeah, poor Jamie Swales is sort of what little hair or whatever he's got is going to have disappeared, I think, trying to sort out all these fake fixtures. It just seems a little bit crazy that, in June and July we had hardly any fixtures, and all of a sudden I think we've got 7 this month so far. And that's without, as I say, if we progress in any of those semi-finals, of getting into finals as well. So, yes, it's a very busy period for the lads. Those in the Premiership who are also in playoff, battles with, say, Ipswich, etc. Some of them they're going to have 4 and 5 matches a week coming up, which, as we know what the British weather normally is like, it could get a little bit difficult. Let's say, let's just keep everything crossed that the weather stays as settled as it has been for sort of the last 6 weeks anyway.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. But it is good to be in the final throes of the season, of course, as well, and to be contesting these matches. And going back over the course of the season, I know you and I spoke at the very start of the year, and great hope for the side, of course. And once again, you have been hit by one particular curveball, that being, of course, the loss of Eric Riss. But you did see what Eric can bring on his day, but unfortunately Eric back on the sidelines, and it's left you back in a familiar position of regularly hitting the phone and having to find guests now.
It has. The problem is as well as Eric was riding so well at the beginning of the season. He was averaging sort of like a 9-point man, 8 points easy. Unfortunately, because of the way the rolling averages work, and I'm not saying I'm against the rolling averages, but it just meant because the last spell that he had also ended in this illness, his average was really low, so it dropped to sort of 6 point something, and then he was building it back up to 7.12, which it was when, unfortunately, this illness came back. So when we had him, he was riding, as you say, like an 8.5 point man, but we can only get sort of 7.12 guests for him. So it's made life really, really difficult. Also being a Friday club now, I'm not the only one that this happens to. I'm sure Cammy Brown, I'm sure, Edinburgh, I'm sure Scunthorpe, I'm sure everybody has the same sort of battles when you're trying to get guests on a Friday and 6 of the clubs can be racing at least. It makes it really, really difficult. So it's actually nice now that the likes of, I know it's unfortunate for their fans but the likes of Scunthorpe are finished and sort of Berwick are nearly finished and it gives a chance now. I'm looking at when my fixtures are and I'm looking at who's racing on that day, and it's great to see that there's only 1 or 2 sort of two fixtures going on, with us being one of them. Obviously the playoffs, etc., bringing and the knockout cup and BSN semi-finals, you can't use riders involved in the other semi-finals, so that becomes a little bit of a headache. But no, I'm really pleased. As I say, I would have loved Eric back, and up to about 2-3 weeks ago, we really still had hopes that he was going to come back. Everything was progressing well. He messaged me one week, about 3 weeks ago, saying, "Gav, I'm nearly back on a bike. I need one more course of therapy just to make sure." But unfortunately, it's stagnated and it's never got any better. And obviously, you can't play around with your eyesight when it comes to speedway. So yeah, unfortunately, now looks pretty much as if Eric will be done for the season. I've still not given up all hope, but it looks that way. But luckily, as I say, I've managed to sort of secure a couple of really good guests certainly for the next 7 matches anyway. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we should be nearly as strong as we would have been with Eric.
I know that there was a decision to make, wasn't there, regarding Eric, and you have left that door open, as you say, if there is that slim chance, but doesn't look like it. But you could have made a more permanent change to the side before the cut-off as well, but you decided that, well, I don't think that route really worked out anyway, did it? But that was another option, perhaps, that you could have had.
Yeah, to be absolutely honest, and Eric knows, and Eric understood it completely, we were very, very close to signing another rider. He was from the continent. Everything was in place. We were away in Riga, actually, Latvia, for the Grand Prix at the time when me and Jamie were sitting down trying to sort it out. He was speaking to Neil Vatcher and everybody, and then we needed sort of work permits and visas. And literally, we thought right up until the last sort of 6 hours, 12 hours that we could still get it across the line. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the visa application back from whoever Jamie was dealing with it. And it just, the sort of on the stroke, I think it was 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock when the offices closed. It unfortunately hadn't gone through. So we were very, very close to signing another rider. But then, as I say, within about 2 weeks, Eric was saying, "Oh, Gav, I might be back," and I'm so happy. I could still have 12 fixtures with Redcar. It's made us feel really good, and I'm up. But unfortunately, as I say, there is no time scale on Eric's illness. The optic nerve is swollen, and it just goes back on its own, and that can take up to 6 months at times. So. Yeah, unfortunately, it does look as if that battle that we are sort of facing is a losing one now, and we're going to have to go with guest riders till the end of the season.
Nonetheless, though, you've had a good season overall, and say quite a chunk of that has been without Eric, so you've got the strength there. And I think from watching Redcar myself, you can see the progression that's gone on with some of the riders too, particularly Ace Piper and also Jason Edwards. I think since he's signed up with Ipswich, I've seen a big change in how he's riding. And obviously, when we've been doing the Premiership coverage with BSN, and we've been down at Ipswich, and you see that he's in the pits there in between Jason Doyle and Emil Saifutinov. You think, that for someone like Jason Edwards, and he is a big sponge, isn't he? What a place for him to be there, soaking all that up.
He's the biggest sponge in speedway, honestly, and he won't mind me saying that. Jason is the most sort of meticulous, methodical person you'll get. Every single race he either has his mum and dad back home videoing it, or he's got the live stream or whatever. And literally, as soon as he gets back to them pits, he watches his race and sees what he can do wrong, sees what he could improve. And that's Jason. And I'm having Jason Doyle and Emil in the pits with him. Honestly, he must just be like, the cat that got the cream. He's got so much to learn from them. But Jason's been a slow burner, in every area he's got better. His average has got better every year. And now he's genuinely his average and stuff. He's a third heat leader these days. So that's been fantastic for ourselves. And the reserves, like bringing in Jody Scott. Jody at Scunthorpe on Friday was absolutely immense. He was brilliant. He unlucky really because he crashed in Heat 8 while he was out in front. But he had 2 5-1s with Charles. And I think the first one in Heat 1, Charles was behind him and he certainly wasn't having to team ride him. Jody was as fast as. So yeah, we seem to be hitting form at the right time. The guys are really bubbling along really nicely. So as I say, yeah, I'm not going to get carried away. That the big hitters are in there, Glasgow and Poole. They're huge clubs compared to ourselves. But the little minnows are still sort of fighting. We're still hanging in there, and we'll give everything we've got. Because our fans are so passionate, and I'd love to win something for them this year. I know we won the pairs, but it would be lovely to take one of the big trophies. Would be amazing.
Now, all of the playoff places aren't fully solved, mathematically speaking.
No,
at least.
That's right.
And you have a say in that, actually, on Friday. Of course, Redcar are there, but Workington, who are visiting on Friday at the Echo Arena, they need maximum points now. And you've already got your sort of advantage as far as the aggregate point is concerned. But so they're looking to overturn that, not only win, but win by a decent margin on Friday. And if you beat Workington, then every Edinburgh fan is going to be rejoicing.
Yeah, I think was it 52-38? I haven't done I should have done a little bit more research. I think was
51-39.
50, I was close. 51-39. So yeah, so they need to be turning over quite big style now. Although it's a dead rubber to ourselves sort of Friday, no rider gets paid when they don't score. So at the end of the day, our guys will still be going there to earn money. So, we're not going to make it easy for Workington, and that would be detrimental to Edinburgh. So although it doesn't matter to ourselves, all I want now is I want my 7 riders or 6 riders as it is. I want them fit and healthy come Heat 15. But at the end of the day, they're not going to take it easy. They have got a lot of matches next week. But that wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair for Edinburgh. And we will be going out all guns blazing to keep this run going. I think it's 6-6 we've won at the moment. So we just want to keep the wheels are turning, as they say. On Friday night, we won't be doing Workington any favours at all.
Yeah, as you say, you are on a good run of form at the moment, 6 in a row, aiming for more. And then it does ramp up then next week because, to say, the playoffs do kick off and you've obviously second ride third and you're up against the Poole Pirates. I mean, obviously there are no easy fixtures when you get to the playoffs and you're going to have to go to the tough places. But Poole is, I think, a track that you go to with a little bit of optimism potentially because you've got obviously a former captain of Poole Pirates in your side in Danny King. Charles Wright has obviously regularly done well there in the past. Jody Scott had a good meeting. I seem to remember riding for Oxford last year in the playoff final too. I think he was obviously involved in some action there. So you go there with no shortage of experience and obviously it's over the 2 legs as well.
It is. Do you know what it is, Ian? We seem to do really well at Poole. We probably have got one of the best visiting records, I would say, over the last sort of 4 or 5 seasons. And we always seem to do well. The problem that we've had in the past is that Poole, Ben Cook and Zach Cook used to come to our place, and when they were like 6.5 point men in the championship, they would come to ours and get 10 and 12, and they absolutely loved the place. That was our problem, was we didn't ever do badly at Poole. It was that the Cook brothers used to do so well at our place. And obviously they've got Louis Kerr in there, they've got Richard Lawson in there who rides our track well. So we know for a fact, the away leg is going to be hard, but the home leg is going to be difficult also because they all ride our track like really well. But I think it'll be 2 quite balanced and matched teams. I really do. And I think it'll be a good spectacle. I think there should be some good close racing. And I wouldn't be surprised if it went right down to the wire come Heat 15 of the second leg. I really do think it could be that close.
It was a last-hit decider in the league at the Echo Arena as well, wasn't it? So, and you've had super heats before with Poole in the previous season. So those clashes on your track tend to go the distance. Away from home, obviously, a last meeting there, it was 51-39 to the Pirates, which they will see as job done over the two legs, of course. But I guess as well, it was you can look at any meeting in isolation, I suppose, wasn't it? But you had a guest at reserve in Sonny Springer who perhaps wasn't quite at the same level as what Poole were putting out on the track that night.
That's right. Was it Jake Mulford missing that? No, who was missing?
Jake Mulford had got 2 points. He had, he had a tough one, but Sonny was at 6.
Was it Ace or Jody missing? One of those would have been missing.
Looks like Jason Edwards was missing, actually.
All right. Oh, yes, he was injured, wasn't he? He had his broken shoulder. So, yeah, Jason goes well around Poole. He rides the place well. So, I've got no fear. I think, as I say, we were 8 points down after 2 heats and we only finished 12 down after 15. So I think, and without Jason. So, yeah, I'm not going to Poole worried. I'm not going to go and not take them lightly because I know they're a fantastic team and a great club. But we're going to go there, and give it our all. Let's see what we can do. And then, as I say, it'll be nice, really nice to have the second leg for a change back at our place, where we can sort of ramp up the atmosphere. You always go to Poole for the second leg, and as you say, the big crowd comes in and they always make it like a cauldron sort of atmosphere. Well, it's our turn to do that this time. So, we'll hopefully have some drums to bang and some noise to make, and let's see if we can we can turn the tides as on the past seasons.
Yeah, it's I've got the makings over the two ties, of course, of being a really thrilling encounter between two really good sides. And then for you as well, for Redcar, a bit of a mini Southern Tour coming up next week, because then it's the Knockout Cup semi-final and you're up against the Oxford Cheetahs in that one. So 2 meetings in 24 hours thereabouts, and again another chance to get yourself into another cup final.
Yeah, that's right. And Oxford in the Knockout Cup. Again, it'll not be easy. It's funny, like next week, sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Sunday, we've got Poole, Oxford and Glasgow, 3 matches. Obviously, it's that business end of the season, isn't it? So we've got 3. We've got the playoff, then the Knockout Cup semi-final, then on the Sunday, we've got the BSN semi-final. So, it's probably going to be one of the most important weeks in the club's history so far, is next week with those 3 matches. 3 really good performances and we could be, sky high. 3 bad performances and it could be, a disaster. So next week, there'll be a lot sort of, there'll be a lot going on next week that could sort of determine the rest of the season for ourselves.
Yeah, it is pretty pivotal, I think, is what you'd say. And then, as you touched on there, on Sunday, Glasgow lie in wait. You've got Glasgow at home on the Sunday and then the following Friday away at Ashfield. And this is the BSN Series semi-final as well. And again, obviously Poole and Glasgow, along with yourselves, are all involved in all 3 competitions still. So it's busy for them as well, busy period for all those 3 teams. But again, 3 chances now for silverware, but up against Glasgow, one of the few sides that have actually had some success at the Echo Arena, though. Yeah,
again, I'm not going to dwell on it because that was one of the few times where I just could not get a guest for Eric. We ended up having to run rider replacement, and we know rider replacement for your 3rd heat leader just doesn't work. It's probably the worst place to run rider replacement because we could use Danny above, but then it was Jason and that was 2 reserves replacing a heat leader, and that just doesn't really work. I think if it had been sort of second in your averages, then you can have sort of Charles, Danny and whatever else, no problem. But it's just a little bit, it's a little bit too hard to cover. I've only had to do it twice. I think I scraped a win at home against somebody and I got beat off Glasgow. And it's a very difficult position to be in. So again, I'm not going to read in too much into that. I think our reserves are absolutely flying at the moment. And I think that's, if anywhere you can sort of getting the chinks of armour with Glasgow, it maybe is at the bottom end. The top end is super, super strong. And that in Village Nagel is I think he's only done one away match so far, and that was at Redcar, and he got about 13 points at our place. So he took to our place like a duck to water. So yeah, Glasgow is certainly not going to be any easier than Poole, and probably not much easier or at all easier than Oxford. So yeah, it's going to be one of those weeks. But if I come out of it with, say, two wins and a draw or something, all of a sudden it's hunky dory, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. You take that. And looking at the other ties in these respective competitions in the Knockout Cup, you're up against Oxford, but Poole have got Glasgow in that one, and they're well ahead, of course, of Glasgow at the halfway point. So there's a bit of beef between those two as well, with words said in that first leg of that encounter. The second leg is coming up on Sunday at Ashfield, and that one's already been ramped up, hasn't it? So a bit of a sideshow for you as Redcar. You can watch that sideshow between Poole and Glasgow slugging it out from the fences.
Yeah, I'm not one who sort of gets involved with it. I try to keep off social media or saying everything. I just like our lads to do the talking on the track if possible. But there has been words spoken. I think both managers have got involved at one point in something. I was sent off, I think one of the mechanics or something sent me a thing where Midlow had said something and Cammy had come back at him, and this is all on social media, and you're like, is it really the place to be putting it? But at the end of the day, I think it spiced it a bit like that little hodgy-bodgy at our place last week against Scunthorpe. It's spiced things up, and I think it's got a lot more people talking about the tie than would have been. So, you know, if it's positive advertisement, I guess it's a good thing, isn't it? But yeah, it should be. I think Poole are quite away in front, aren't they? They're over 10. Is it 12 or 13 points in front or something?
14 points.
Oh,
actually,
yeah. So Glasgow need to win sort of 15. That's a big ask, even for Glasgow at Glasgow. They'll need them two young kids at reserve really firing, you know, because they've got to have seven rides, haven't they? 7 heats, beg your pardon, out of 15. So yeah, but if there's anybody can get them fired up, it'll be Cammy, because God knows what he'll be saying and doing. But yeah, you know, if any team can come back, Glasgow can. They haven't finished top of the league for no reason. You know, they are probably the strongest now with Villad's in. They're probably the strongest 1 to 7. So yeah, if anybody can come back at home, I would say Glasgow have got every chance of doing it against Poole.
And then it's almost the reverse way round in the BSN series, isn't it, as well, with the same sides making it through. But it's Poole and Oxford, a bit of a variety. At least we're not getting the same fixtures every week. So Poole and Oxford have already ridden each other, and Poole actually battered Oxford pretty well, didn't they? 58-32 in that one. So they're well ahead of the second leg there. They're going to be riding on the 17th for that one. And, of course, you're kicking off your BSN semi-final on Sunday the 14th. So that next week, the next week, 10 days is really going to shake it all down for that final section of the season, isn't it?
It is for everybody. So ourselves, as I say, the next 3 matches are pivotal in our season. But all clubs are doing exactly the same. Well, Glasgow, Poole, and ourselves anyway, who are involved in them all and involved in the playoffs. It's that business end of the season. I just feel it's a little bit sad that we're having to cram these matches in. Yet we went through sort of June and a bit of July, I think, with hardly any fixtures at all. You know, I just think it gets to the point where, as I say, I'm not the only team manager, because I'm sure Cammy's got the same, and you know what I mean, Midlow's got the same. Where we're having riders riding 5 times a week, and you know, there's just so much room for more injury and, you know, accidents and injury when they're riding so often. I just think something needs looking at, that we shouldn't be condensing everything now and into sort of to try to get it finished before the weather turns, as we know it probably will do. You know, as we get into October, it's normally not very nice, to be fair. Hopefully we'll get some type of Indian summer and it plays ball, because it's pretty much played ball all season. But we sat around in glorious months of June, and because there's so many teams race on Fridays, etc., we didn't have a fixture. I don't think we had a home fixture like for 4 weeks or something. You know, we might have had a Tigers match, but I don't think the Bears rode at home. I hardly seen them during the summer months, during sort of June. I don't think we really had anything. So It's now, now that we're having, we're going to be doing 2 and 3 matches a week for the next 3 weeks or something, which is more than we did probably in May, June and July. So, I mean, heart goes out to the likes of Jamie and that who've had to try and organise all these fixtures because, as I say, luckily I haven't got any hair anyway, but any I had would have been pulled out long before now. It's a hard time. We cram so much in to the last sort of month, to try and get them finished. And as I say, things then start happening and, you get an injury and all of a sudden, some of the Australians have gone home and getting guests is very nigh impossible. And you end up finishing the season, you end up with a cup final with a team that's not really the team that's got you there, all the way through the season. So it's a sport that we do. I'm not going to sit here and moan, I promise. I'm a positive person. The glass is always half full. So we'll, as I say, we'll just take these next 2 weeks and see where we get to.
Speaking of taking it on the chin, certainly you had the eyes of the speedway world and actually national media attention. I know that these dramatic incidents tend to be sometimes frowned on in some respects, but certainly captured the imagination, the little clash between Charles and Jake Allen the other week. Obviously, you don't want to see it all the time, but I think overall, no major harm done apart from to equipment and maybe some pride.
It was, obviously I'm Charles's biggest fan. He's my number one. He's my captain. But I can see it from both sides. I can see Jake obviously is shut off after the line, and then he hasn't seen what's been going on and known what's gone on behind. Charles, speaking to Charles, as he thought he got so engrossed in the race, he thought there was another lap to go. So he's gone over the start and finish line full pelt, heading for that corner, and Jake's obviously slowed up. He's sort of gone over the line. He's won the race in his head. Charles has still got a lap to go in his head, and he's thinking, Jesus, what's gone wrong with Jake? Is his bike conked out or what? An unfortunate incident has occurred. I don't think, but I know for a fact there wasn't one bit of malice in Charles's actions. But obviously Jake then, he'd blown an engine in his first ride, and now he's got a bike wrecked in the fence. And you can see how Jake's responded the way he did. And Charles has obviously gone back round to sort of say sorry, to say what the heck happened, what's gone. And it's all kicked off, and the crowd absolutely loved it. They did, I don't want it ending up like ice hockey when it becomes part of Speedway, but it is once in a while, the crowd, like the Redcar fans booing Jake give them a bit of a fingers. And, the good old fashioned days of when I used to watch Bobby Beaton storming the referee's box and things like that. And it was, at the end of the day, Jake's was high as a kite. He literally, he didn't know what had happened, etc. And by the time they got to the pits, I don't think they're probably going to, have a meal out together and be whatever. But it was agreed to disagree that that's what had happened. It was an accident. But as Jake said in the meeting, he said, I agree it was an accident, but that's not going to pay for the sort of $2,000 worth of damage that's done to me bike. So, there's always two sides to a story, but I think it made the atmosphere. We always have a good atmosphere at Redcar. The scaff stand are absolutely brilliant. Their scarves and their chants and everything. They're fantastic. But this just even wound them up a little bit more, And as I say, I think the few Scunthorpe fans that were there, they were quite vocal to Charles, which was great. It all made for the atmosphere. So and it got wind of the Sun newspaper, the Mirror newspaper. I think we're on some German TV or something. It was, if it did the sport good, in publicity, fair enough, you know what I mean? But as I say, I just care for the riders at the end of the day, and like nobody got seriously hurt. Yeah, Jake's pocket probably got hurt a bit. And as I say, throwing the odd punch or doing the odd wrestling move with a helmet and gloves on, normally not going to cause too much damage.
No, that's true. That's true. And I think as well, the fact that it happened right in front of the sort of more vocal section of the Redcar crowd as well, it couldn't have happened in a worse or better place, I think, in some respects.
I'm saying it was sort of right in front of the scaff stand, as it's called, the scaffold stand. They're a bunch of, I'm not going to say lunatics because that's wrong. Do you know what I mean? But they're brilliant. Honestly, home or away, you hear them. They sing their songs, they chant. They've got their scarves. It's, you know, I don't know what's the Plymouth ones called, the bar something.
The bar bandits.
Bar bandits, yeah. Our scaff stand is, I would give a run for money for anybody. You know, the noise that comes out of there that they generate. But yeah, the fight happened sort of literally right in front of them. So yeah, you know, I do think it's good for Speedway. I do think passion's good for Speedway. You know, I don't want to see it all the time, but you know, the odd time, I think it was Chris. I think Danny King was telling us. I think it was Chris Louis had told him or whatever. So 2 riders years ago had gone and had a fight in the pits, and he had said, like, "Don't you ever fight in the pits. If you're going to have a fight, get it out there where everybody can see you." You know, it's like they're the ones paying your wages, type of thing. Get it where they can see you. And I sort of agree to it. I don't want to see it come into the sport, as I say, like blooming ice hockey or whatever. But the odd one, you know what it does? It just gets the crowd going. And as I say, as long as nobody's hurt in the instance, it's I'm not going to say it's fine with me, but I'll just sort of shrug my shoulders, let them get on with it. Get them back to the pits, get them ready for the race the next time, and let's just get on with it.
Certainly that noise will be required, though, from the Redcar faithful, both home and away, but your playoff mission gets underway and a start of a very busy week as well, contesting semi-finals in all 3 competitions in the same week. Living the dream, but starting with the playoff final in the Cab Direct Championship away at Poole on Tuesday. Yes, you heard right, Tuesday at Poole Stadium, and if you can't make it, then there'll be coverage of that on BSN on Tuesday night.
Cheers, Ian. Thanks a million for having me. Any time, just give me a buzz.
Redcar team boss Gavin Parr ahead of what is going to be a busy week as Redcar head into the semi-finals of both the Cab Direct Championship playoffs, the BSN Series and the Knockout Cup, all in the same week. And you can certainly see them in action for their next fixture, which will be on Friday at the Echo Arena against the Workington Comets, and then next Tuesday for the first leg of that semi-final of the Cab Direct Championship at Wimborne Road. So before we go then, we'll have a little roundup of what's ahead in the week ahead in British Speedway in just a moment, here on No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Okie dokie, let's have a look at what lies ahead in British Speedway this next week ahead, starting with the fixtures on Wednesday in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership. Yes, action on a Wednesday, and it is at Oleton as well. Sheffield versus Ipswich. This is the rearranged rain-off from not so long ago, last week. 7:30 the start time at Oleton, and then 24 hours later they're doing it all over again, this time in Suffolk at Vauxhall Stadium. Ipswich versus Sheffield, the return leg, and if it's not sorted on Wednesday night, definitely sorted Thursday night, who finishes top of the Premiership. I've also got action on Thursday at Oxford, the Oxford Spires against the Leicester Lions, and Leicester ahead by 10 points in that one, ahead of the second leg there, with Leicester, of course, still to be decided where they're going to finish exactly in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership. Friday, Cab Direct Championship, Redcar versus Workington. Redcar are 51-39 up in that one. 7:30 the start time at the Echo Arena. And in the National Development League, there's action at Armadale. The Edinburgh Academy taking on the Sheffield Scunthorpe Steelers, and Edinburgh very much ahead on aggregate there, 52-38. For that one. Saturday, Cab Direct Championship, Berwick versus Plymouth. Plymouth are ahead on aggregate there by just the 2 points, 46-44 at the Coliseum. So Berwick looking to finish their season, their regular season. Well, actually, it was scheduled to be their regular season, but they've got some more action to come, I think, against Workington, a rain-off now, haven't they, to add on. But 7 p.m. is the start time for that one, and that will be also on BSN on Saturday night. Sunday, Cab Direct Championship, Workington Comets versus the Berwick Bandits at 3 p.m. We've got Glasgow versus Poole in the Knockout Cup semi-final. That's going to be a juicy one. It starts at 5 o'clock at Ashfield. And National Development League, Kent Eagles versus Birmingham at 12. Monday, September the 8th, Rowe Motor Oil Premiership playoff time. It's Bellevue versus TBC. Not sure who that will be yet. We will find out in the coming days. But, of course, it will be either Ipswich or Sheffield. But, yeah, TBC. 7:30 the start time. Tuesday, Cab Direct Championship Playoff Semi-Final, Poole versus Redcar. That is also live on BSN. Wednesday, September 10th, we've got the KO Cup Semi-Final, Oxford versus Redcar at 7:30. And I would imagine that will be on Oxford's own live streaming service if you want to watch that. And then Thursday, September the 11th, it's the return leg at the home of TBC, wherever that will be, versus Bellevue at 7:30. But we'll be back before then for a roundup of what happens in that fixture between Bellevue versus TBC. All the action will be right here on No Breaks, No Fear, with exclusive interviews from right throughout the TBC camp. Whoever it is, we'll be talking about it next week here on No Breaks, No Fear. Have a good week. We'll catch you then. Bye.
No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.